Welcome back. The battle over who will take over in some Maryland courts got a little clearer recently after the state's primary elections. For the state's top prosecutor, U.S. Representative Anthony Brown claimed victory after receiving around 59% of the vote. That means he'll likely face off against former Anne Arundel County Council member Michael Peroutka. Peroutka leads the Republican primary by about 16 points, and I think it's fair to say this guy's kind of a character. Here's part of a video that he made several years ago about courts and crafting laws.
No matter what they told you all, courts and judges cannot make law. The case law method has a fatal flaw because courts cannot make law. Courts cannot make law. Courts cannot make law. The case law method has a fatal flaw because courts cannot make law. Okay. Thank you.
Now, in all seriousness, Peroutka used to be part of an openly racist pro-Confederate group called the League of the South. He's refused to denounce it. Vice News did a profile on him recently. They summarized that his views were this by saying, quote, he believes public education is a communist plot, abortion and gay marriage violates God's law, and the concept of separation of church and state is, quote, a great lie. Staying in Maryland, Marilyn Mosby's days as Baltimore's top prosecutor are numbered, but her time in the spotlight is far from over. Mosby was defeated in the Democratic primary election last month. She grabbed national headlines back in 2015 when she announced she'd prosecute 6 police officers after the death of Freddie Gray. The judge acquitted 3 of them, and Mosby made the controversial decision to drop charges against the other 3. Now, some charges she refused to drop, though, the ones against Keith Davis Jr. We told you about this case, but he's accused of killing a horse track security guard in 2015, and he's awaiting his 5th trial for the case. His legal team has accused Mosby of vindictive prosecution, but to her credit, a judge denied that claim, allowing the trial to continue. Now that her days are numbered, she can devote more of time to her legal troubles. In January, she was indicted on charges of perjury, accused of using bogus information on mortgage applications, and her trial is slated for September 19th. Mosby lost the primary to defense attorney Ivan Bates. Despite Mosby's struggles, he attributed his win to one main thing: crime. Last year, the city of Baltimore recorded more than 300 homicides for the 7th year in a row.
Voters weren't as focused on Ms. Mosby's personal issues. They were focused on crime. Crime, 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 crime. That's all they wanted to talk about was the crime. And I think the simple fact that we made it about crime and not about Ms. Mosby clearly shows that at the end of the day, voters, they just want to be safe.
Bates has also said he supports dismissing charges against Keith Davis Jr. There's no Republican challenger, so Bates will face off against an independent candidate come November. Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy addressed a lawsuit last week that claims hundreds of inmates are being held illegally in PG County. The suit claims suspects are sometimes held for months, even though judges have authorized their release. It cites processing delays in the county's Department of Corrections. Braveboy says the detentions only happen in certain cases.
There are people who have a pretrial release option given to them by a judicial officer, but pretrial detention services has determined that those individuals may or may not be suitable for release based on their criteria.
Now, the lawsuit claims that criteria Braveboy mentioned is arbitrary and not related to community safety or flight risk, what's usually considered when you're deciding whether or not to let someone out before trial. The Department of Corrections has not commented on the suit. Those are just a few stories that show how much impact these state courts have in people's lives. Join us next week for a special episode, Back to the States in the Courts. It's a special episode where we talk more detailed about the impact of those smaller chambers.